going on, guys? We're back at the Haymaker Studios doing another show. Going to talk World Cup. Going to talk 2011 Mavs. Are you paying attention to any of this back there? What are you doing? Yeah.
No, not really. I'm texting with NBA champion as a player and a coach, Rick Carlisle. So
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's cute. Listen, man. I get we've been doing this a while. We've been pals. We can be honest with each other. If you're just Googling stuff, you can Google stuff. But what are you doing?
He just goes to a new school. Okay?
You don't have friends at other schools?
We talk a lot online, all right? It's none of your business, quite frankly.
Welcome back to StrongSide, the show, episode 31, the Jason Terry episode, which is fitting because we're going to talk about Jason Terry.
We are.
And we're going to talk about Dirk Nowitzki. And we're going to talk about Sean Marion and Tyson Chandler and everybody from 2011 because this is the 15-year anniversary of the Mavericks title.
It is.
Big moment in our city, big moment for us. And we've got basically the best possible guest to do this with. We got Rick Carlisle coming on the show to chop it up with us.
Let's go.
It's phenomenal. I don't have to sell you anything more on that, but we're also going to talk some World Cup because that's going down this week. We're going to talk about the Wings, who are looking pretty good. And we're going to talk about a very large adult son who may or may not be a Dallas Maverick in a couple weeks. Mike, where do you want to start off, brother?
Let's start off with it's happening all around us, Mike. Don't you feel it? Don't you have the fever?
I don't.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's weird. It's everywhere, and it's kind of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be everywhere, but it doesn't feel like it's everywhere.
It's the Santa of sporting events, apparently. Like, I see it, and I'm like, I guess people have different emotions when they see these things than I do, and they just get really into it and hyped up whenever they put a little net, a little goal at Clyde Warren Park with, like, some, like, giant fake soccer balls in it. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about the World Cup. I'll be excited to watch the games. Excited it's here. It's really cool that it's in Arlington, not Dallas. Don't say Dallas ever again. It's Arlington.
Hey, Dallas Stadium, bro. That's what they're calling it for the next month and a half. Dallas Stadium.
That's the most Arlington thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, I know. Well, it is kind of the big rejoinder when you always have those turf wars. These events happen, and Fort Worth's like, hey, they're all staying here. It's Fort Worth's event. And Arlington's like, hey, the building's here. It's our event. And Dallas kind of wins the war, and Dallas is like, yeah, they're not called the Arlington Cowboys, guys.
Yeah,
it's not called Arlington Stadium, guys. It's Dallas Stadium.
We even got the damn stadium. But the World Cup is everywhere.
It is.
We're going to have 9 matches here in Dallas. I think the opening one is Croatia-England. Croatia-England next Wednesday. Is that the opener? Or is there one?
No, I believe the opener
there's
is...
one before.
Yeah. It's Netherlands-Japan.
Netherlands-Japan. Yeah,
yeah.
But see, I know soccer, guys.
Yeah, look at you. You know how to read a calendar.
Yeah, I can read calendars. I know more about the England team than I know about any team 5X, I think. Well, I started watching the USA documentary last night.
Was it good?
Yeah. I fell asleep because I'm old, but it was good.
The best
The parts I could stay awake for because I'm old. Again, it wasn't lack of being good or whatever. They do really want you to know that soccer players are gritty and they use the F word.
So gritty that we're not even going to talk about the biggest drama from the last World Cup because some people got creative control and that rules sports documentaries. Anyways, this is the longest intro topic we've ever had.
Yeah, that's
the World Cup.
That's all I have.
Yeah, that's all I have.
How you go on World Cup?
It's weird, man. So I feel like we've all been waiting for years. We all knew this was coming, especially, now my title is senior editor and I do a bunch of stuff, but especially when I was full-time sports, it was just like this looming thing for the last 2 years of like, oh, the World Cup's coming. Oh, we're going to do a lot of World Cup stuff. And now it's here, and it's weird because it's a big thing, but it feels like kind of anticlimactic just because some of the air has gotten sucked out of this between FIFA being real greedy with ticket prices and expanding the field from 32 to 48, which absolutely nobody who
doesn't need to happen. I laughed when I heard that the other day. I didn't realize it. I was like definitely 32 teams. And I heard somebody say I was like, for what? For why?
Same reason we got expanded college football playoffs. Same reason we're getting
money.
March Madness getting blown up. A Sudanese referee isn't going to be here because of our immigration laws. A player in this tournament got detained for 7 hours.
Country you got.
Yeah, so it's just a big old heaping of bullshit around the soccer, and that's kind of the FIFA experience. Like, this is the most corrupt sporting body in the world, guys. You can Google. Entire documentary has been made about this, and they saw American ticket policies as a way to really line the pockets because the last World Cup, you would see tickets going as cheap as like $15, right? And so it's this thing where the world's game is not for most of the world, or not even for the people who live here a lot of the time because of the ticket prices. So it's weird. And it's also that thing and this is like kind of the deal with modern sports where like everything about it is such a headache, and then it gets here and you get swept into it and you reminder that it's so great, and what if people surrounding it just didn't monkey with it like they do?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be hyped when the matches are here. And what I'm
excited for the sport of it.
I'm excited for the sport. I'm also excited for the tangential thing of, and I've thought about this a lot over the last couple of years. You know, when you go back to late 2023 into around this time, 2024, you had the Texas Rangers win the World Series. You had the Dallas Stars in the conference finals. You had the Dallas Mavericks get within 3 games of an NBA title. We were the biggest sports city in America. Mm-hmm. It was about us. And then it went away so fast, right? The Rangers got too banged up to mount a title defense. Mm-hmm. Luka gets traded. Micah Parsons gets traded. The Stars regress a bit, even if we're still this is a pro Stars show. We still think they're going to be fine, but the Stars haven't broken through like we thought.
It's like every 11 years. We're on time, baby.
Yeah, every 11 years.
2011, 2012 was awesome, and then you jump forward a little bit.
Yeah, but before that it was 99.
Yeah.
So what was cool, and I wrote this piece when the baseball All-Star game was here, and it was during the Rangers title defense that wasn't a title defense, and I wrote, he's like, it's nice that this place is the center of baseball again, because the whole thing was supposed to be, okay, we won it, now we're going to see, you win, and then you defend it, and then baseball, and whatever sport it's in, is watching you, and it's fun to be the hunted. It's fun where everybody just stares at you, even if you have this improbable run. It's okay, these are the guys now. And so you get this afterglow of, maybe you don't defend it. Statistically, you won't. But you are the center of the sport. But the Mavericks never had that, right? Because we all know what happened with that title team. The Rangers didn't have that. But I remember when the All-Star game was here, I was like, it's cool that this is the center of baseball again. The way it was supposed to be all year. Maybe it's only for 48 hours, but it's here. And Dallas being the center of American sports again, even if it's a sport that is very different than what this city specializes in. Yeah, it's not like this is FC Dallas at the center of this deal, even though Dan Hunt and the Hunt family, big part of why this is coming here. Let's shout them out. It's cool that Dallas is going to be the center of this thing, right? No city in this tournament, no host region, because this is co-hosted with Canada and Mexico. Nobody's more matches than Dallas. Has a semifinal match. It has a really kick-ass match in England, Croatia, which, assuming everything lines up, I'll be there next week covering it with our amazing photographer, Elizabeth Lavin. So that's the part that makes this exciting. Even if like the day-to-day vibe isn't what I think we thought it was going to be, probably because these tickets got so wild. A lot of people aren't coming here like we thought. Maybe that changes the next week and we just see hordes of people descending on Dallas. I don't think it's going to happen like that.
Yeah, Team USA isn't playing here, to be clear.
Team USA isn't, but I was kind of figuring we're going to see a lot of interesting, cool tourists, mainly Argentines, because they have 2 matches here. But, look, it's the week of. My commute ain't any different. Walking around downtown in our office seems like the same people I see downtown. So maybe that changes, but I don't know if it will. And so it's going to be this weird deal where it's going to be what we thought and it's not going to be what we expected at the same time. And that just makes for a weird witch's brew of stuff.
The vibe right now is exceptionally weird as a walk around Dallas person because I'm super excited about the sport of it. Team USA is not here, so I'm like, I don't have a rooting interest. I can't just like adopt another country. Like that's not how it's gonna work.
Well, you can do
it's like an NHL Eastern Conference.
You could go heritage, right? So like I root for the Italian. I root for the Italian national team, and that's gone real bad lately. They ain't here.
Did Ireland make it?
Ireland is Ireland in there? They might be in there. They've been they've had their moments.
I don't think they're there.
There's usually a guy every 5 years who's like, oh, that Irish guy, that one Irish guy is pretty fun. Shout out Robbie Keane.
Is Colombia in there?
Colombia's in there.
Okay, I'll root for Colombia. That's my wife's side of the family. Yeah. I'm not Colombian, you can tell. But my wife's side of the family is like first generation Colombia. So that'll be my second team. Yeah. I don't think they're playing here either, but
they're not.
The thing that whenever you are in a place where this giant sporting event, like a Super Bowl is coming, an NBA All-Star game's coming, whatever is going to be in your world for a while.
Yeah.
You get steeped in the marketing bullshit before there's anything to do about it. It's just people knocking on your door going like, I want your money soon. I'm going to have your money soon. I'm going to get some money from you soon. And they're doing it for like 3 months leading up to the thing.
Well, and then you have the permutation of if you're in our business where you get
Yes.
emails
Oh,
and
God,
it's like,
dude.
do you want to talk to Bank of America about the upcoming World Cup?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to this logistics provider about solutions that businesses face and cities face when the World Cup comes through town? Do you want to talk to 40 people that you don't want to talk to and have nothing?
It is an unabashed, unapologetic money grab.
Yeah.
That is happening.
Yeah.
People are just wanting to get, some companies are just straight up like, hey, come here, drink beer here, watch the thing here.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do here. That's cool.
Yep.
That's part of their
email me
business.
those.
That's part of their business model.
Yeah.
But there's this other side of this company, of the bigger companies
Yep.
that have, thousands of employees that are just trying to catch a reflection off of the World Cup.
Biggest sporting event on earth. It makes sense.
Get,
yeah.
just ride some vapors from that, get exposure from that. And that's the type of stuff where I'm like, how in the world is this fintech company associated with this footy game? How am I supposed to make this connection? And why are you putting that on me? They don't even like have the balls to like pay an influencer to like connect the two or go to the game or whatever. They're just like reaching out to outlets.
Yeah.
Like, solve this, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
My boss is yelling at me to make some activations about the World
Well,
Cup. I
yeah.
ain't got shit.
We all the activations, and then it gets to be hey, can we do something for you if you write a story, but we take your products? And there are people who do that, and we don't do that because that's not the right thing to do in our line of work. So then you have to send around emails being like, I can't accept that thing in exchange for a story, man. That's just not how this works. And and so as a result, I feel like I'm so attuned to that even more than the spectacle, and like I'm looking forward to the matches so I can get back into it. Because normally in previous years, and part of this is the field expanding. But it used to be if you ask me, is Ireland or Colombia in the field, I know right off the bat.
Right.
I don't like I used to because I'm so like I'm wading through muck of promotional capitalistic stuff. It's like I just want to watch the soccer. I really do.
Yeah, daddy capitalism is
especially in this
living upstairs.
This is the most American way you can approach a World Cup. Everything about it is like America style. Like there doesn't need to be this much money involved in this many sectors, and it is. But it's still going to be great in the end, in spite of itself. I am excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk about the title, man. It's been 15 years, and we talked with Isaac Harris about this last week. We're going to talk everything basketball related to Rick Carlisle. I don't know if we need to talk as much hoop stuff, you and me, but you and I, we met like 2 weeks after this.
That's true,
first show you and I ever did or ever collaborated on. Shout out Mike Fisher. Mike introduced us.
We did Leading into Portland series. I think we did a podcast.
Was it Leading in Portland?
I did a podcast at Fox Sports Southwest leading into the Portland series. I don't know if you were on it.
I don't know if I was on that one. I vividly remember, maybe I was. I vividly remember afterwards talking about it. But this was right around the time you and I first met each other, well before we were pals like we are now.
Yeah.
What are your memories of that series? What do you remember of everything, title, post-title, all that?
I mean,
when we were young and innocent.
Yeah, we really were. I mean, I've told the story a handful of times of going to the Arcade Fire show that was after Portland, before LA, and Win Butler asking the crowd who the Mavs have next, and everyone yelling the Lakers, and him just going, "Well, good luck with that." That'll stick with me forever. That's just like a weird. That's just like a Mad Libs of grab names of things that don't make sense that get thrown together because he had ran into Tyson Chandler at a French restaurant the night before and blah blah blah, all this stuff. That team, and I don't know if another team will be able to ever top my connection to it, and just the feeling of, I don't know if this is possible anymore. A team symbolizing the same time and same thing that I was wanting to do these years of my life of, am I good enough?
Yeah. Well, I think insecurity is always regional insecurity tied with personal insecurity is always an evergreen
but
thing.
The Mavs were always like, okay, well, if Dirk can do it, then I can do it. He was like, he was my guy, and I grew up going to Mavs camps, Mavs hoop camps in the summer. Like I was a Mavs camp.
I went to some too.
Yeah, that was my entire life, and 2011 was there was more scar tissue than we care to remember at this point.
Oh my God! We talked about this with Jason Gallagher because I think we were talking about the worst Mavs loss we remembered, and I remember the Brandon Roy game probably was it for me because I remember thinking I was like, it's over.
Yeah,
like they will not win now. They don't recover from stuff like this.
Yeah,
and then it's another year down the drain, and like I think we all kind of knew. This is why like I was the only person that like maybe I wasn't the only one when everybody freaked out about that title team getting broken up. I didn't because I was just like, there's some cap miscalculations, but they're not doing it again.
Yeah,
This was
sure.
it had to be now. And I remember when they lose that Brandon Roy game, and I'm just like, it's over.
Yeah.
It's absolutely over. And
I remember planning for the games, and I mean, I remember for some reason I remember like 2006 more vividly because I was with people and I was a touch younger. 2011, I didn't want to be around anybody when the finals came around.
Yeah.
I watched all those games alone or Jordan there for some of it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be around people.
Yeah.
I could not take that experience. I'd experienced that before.
Right.
Of, oh, time to celebrate. And then it's like, oh, you lose in the worst way possible. Not the most embarrassing way, the worst way possible if you don't feel like it's legitimate. And so in 2011, I had a roommate. I was still, I just graduated college the December before.
Yeah.
And so my roommate wasn't really into the basketball necessarily at all. And I think I told him, I was like, just go be somewhere else. I remember watching all those games alone and experiencing that because that's what I wanted. I didn't want people to see how insane I am.
You can't let that out. That's not fit for public consumption.
Out of the bag. And I mean, literally 1 year earlier, my dad had died. And so I remember always, that was our thing. Like, that's our thing. It's sports, right? Yeah. Like, my dad wanted me to be Tiger Woods. You know, like the competition and mental fortitude through sports and all these lessons you can learn, that was our thing. And we always used to talk about Dirk and always used to talk about the Mavs and always used to talk about whatever local sporting thing was happening. And I went to my first Mavs game at Reunion Arena, Dirk versus KG.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome. And so it was just impossible not to, you know, he passed away heading into that season. And so that season I was like, man, if we do this, he didn't get to see it. And that's all I could think of. When that happened, I was just like, oh, our thing or we are good enough. We are actually good enough to be the best.
Right. And that was
the fucking world.
Which was always like, and I've written about this, but like that was, if you really extend it out, that was always the biggest thing with Dirk. Mm-hmm. Like the biggest thing with Dirk, why everybody loves him, it's that he stayed, but he stayed here. Like if he stayed and he was a Laker and he stayed for life, okay, cool, man. That's great. That's easy. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to stay here. And it's not easy to show this place that like, this is enough for me.
Yeah.
And you guys are enough. And that's why, that's really, whether people really articulate it or not, I think that's why he is the most loved dude. Yeah, he won the ring. Yeah, he was incredible. But like, it was the fact that like, if you care about the city and you were invested in the whole journey, he was invested in this place when, you know, yeah, if you're a Dallas Cowboy, it's easy to stay here.
Yeah.
But anybody else, it's not. And he made it known that this is all he ever wanted. And nobody had ever really done that in his position.
Yeah, and he's just like, even to this date, his entire journey, it is so human. And that it's flawed.
Yeah.
And that he's flawed.
Yeah.
In the ways that you would expect someone from another country to be flawed and a young kid to be flawed. I mean, there was a lot of drama those year or two before they go on this run that doesn't get talked about anymore.
No, nobody talks about Crystal Taylor.
Right. Yeah. That was nuts. That was the most nuts
thing. And also let it be known, because it never gets talked about enough, probably the best playoff series he ever played was when that was going down against Denver.
Yes.
He was unreal.
Yeah.
Like, look up the numbers. It was something like 35-11 at a ridiculous shooting percentage.
Yeah.
His world was falling apart.
Yeah.
And it was also a thing where, you know, I profiled him last year for us for the magazine. And if you're doing it right, you're going through and you're reading everything you can. And there's a great magazine story about him in ESPN, the magazine, around that time. It was the start, I think it was right before, I think it was 2010. Allison Glock wrote at ESPN, the magazine. And it was really capturing where he was at that point in his life, where I think it was before he met his wife. This is after Crystal Taylor. There was a big transient element with his team then, right? So many people were coming in and out. And a lot of the guys who he came up with were gone. He hadn't fully bonded with some of the dudes who were here yet. And the story basically closes, and it's just basically a monologue. And he's talking about, because all he would do is he'd go to the game and he'd go home, and he was kind of a man apart. And he's talking about how he's just like, you know, I don't think people really here understand me. And I'm okay most of the time, but, you know, sometimes I'm a human and it bothers me, but I'm good. And the thing ends, and it's just haunting. And I read this to him because even he, like 15 years later, was like, whoa, I was in a different place. But the story ends, he's like, I'm not lonely, am I? And that's how it ends. And you're just like,
Jesus,
fuck. And so for a dude who cared, who went into this with every bit of scar tissue, personal, professional, all that, to do this at a time when nobody thought it was coming on the outside. I mean, the first round series against Portland was a 3-6 matchup. If you go back, you can find the graphic. Half the media picks Portland.
Nobody on that podcast picked the Mavs to win that I was on. That's why I brought it up. I was the person that did. I was like, no. I was like, maybe Brandon Roy. I believe in Brandon Roy.
I'm going to say for posterity, I was not on this.
Now you're not on.
I don't know. I legitimately don't know, but I'm going to say I wasn't.
I was the only person on there, and I was like, Brandon Roy, I believe in, if he's healthy. No. LaMarcus Aldridge, I'm sorry. Sorry, bud. Nope, I'm not. No. Dirk is not losing to you.
Yeah.
That is not a thing that's going to happen.
No.
Not in the history of ever is this going to be allowed to happen. And I don't know. I mean, there was Dirk going to Australia for that month or whatever. Like, there's just moments in there of you didn't know if this was the end. Like, you genuinely didn't. It's so silly to look back now and like, oh, the loyalty of this guy. And it's not because something he said. It's just because you had seen this happen over and over and over and over, whether it was, Melo in Denver or, just go down the list of
And it's not like anybody would have blamed him.
No.
Nobody would have blamed him. Yeah, and so to your point, I mean, because it felt like it was so over, I remember, I mean, in some ways, the way I celebrated that Lakers series as a fan, because this is well before I was ever really doing this for a living in a real way, the way I celebrated that Lakers series as a fan was almost like the way I did at Miami, because like I kind of thought like, okay, they beat the freaking Lakers. They're not winning the title, but holy crap, they embarrassed the Lakers. I remember vividly, and some of my friends who are in my life still, who were around me those times, I remember being in New Orleans and with a very good friend of mine, shout out JD Gonzalez. I love you. You're watching this. I know you are. And we watched Mother's Day Massacre together. We watched the game before that together. We called a very good friend of mine, who on the internet, if you remember, Forgotten Mavs and Forgotten Lakers, who were two twin brothers who would interview basically dudes who were role players. You don't remember.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Forgotten Lakers, a very good pal of mine, and just a relentless troll. He's from here, and he was the biggest Laker troll ever. And we just gave him so much shit over the course of the series. I would call him between games, and I'd just be like, how you doing? After game one, he's just like, all right, you got lucky. It's fine. No biggie.
Yeah.
Game two, he's like, not ideal. We'll take home court back.
Not ideal.
Game three, I'm like, how you doing? He's like, I don't feel great. I don't feel very good at all. And then game four happens, and then we're calling him, and he was working a job. His job needed him to work on a Sunday. He's not answering. And all of us in our friend group, we're all Mavs fans. We're all calling him. We're all blowing up his phone. We're all leaving messages to the point where his twin brother is texting me. He's like, I'm starting to get a little nervous. Like, did he just walk into traffic? And finally, I'm flying down to New Orleans that day. I remember watching this at Tracy's, eating po' boys and drinking Purple Haze. We're celebrating, going to the airport, and as I'm about to board the flight back here, he calls me and he's like, I have about 30 voicemails and 100 text messages.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, you brought this on himself. And he's like, you know how many rings we have? I'm like, you know what, buddy?
Doesn't matter. Where you at right now?
Where you at right now, buddy?
Vacationing?
Where you at? And so, but that felt like in a lot of ways like that won the title.
Yeah. Well,
like, because even at that point, I didn't think it was really going to happen.
Yeah, and that's why I couldn't like muster any hate for OKC necessarily. Like, I definitely didn't like. Still, I mean, from day one, I don't think I liked James Harden. And Russ kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But it was also like these guys are figuring it out. But all my angst and hate and just like built up whatever venom went to the Lakers. Because they were the boogeyman, and there was no doubt about it. And everybody knew it. Yep. And it was just this thing of, I didn't think their roster was that good or that deep, but they just always won. And
I'm also like a famous Kobe hater.
Yeah.
And so like it just like was excruciating. It's weird. Yeah, Oklahoma City was the one. Like I remember Portland being like they should win. Then Brandon Roy happens. I think that's over. Lakers, I think nobody thought they were going to win, and then they win in incredible fashion. It's delirious. Everybody remembers Miami. Oklahoma City was one where I can't even remember my mindset a lot of the time. I feel like I'm more detached, but like there was an element to it the whole time for me of just like, to your point, like they're young, and Dirk was just on one, and I kind of felt like I'm like,
I couldn't stop Dirk.
I just kind of figured I was like, it's probably going to end in the finals against Miami, but I don't think it's going to. Once they beat LA, I'm like, I don't think they'll lose the next one. It's be the one after that that's the problem. And then they get to Miami, and I mean, I think everybody probably had the same range of feelings. I mean, obviously, game one, they win, and you're just like, oh, yep. And then game two becomes the game where you're just like, maybe there's hope. I still remember like maybe my favorite small moment of that series was right before the big shot when Jet gives up the open three and Dirk, like, it was such an encapsulation of like one facet, like one of the more public facets of the Dirk Jet relationship, where it's kind of like the straight man of the show and the comic, where like Dirk's just yelling at him, like looking at him. He's just like, "The hell are you doing?" And then like on the podium afterwards, I remember like Jet joking about it because they won. And you could joke about it then, and just like Jet making jokes, and Dirk's just like leaning back in this microphone, just being like, this guy, see what I deal with.
I mean, once you get into a series like that, it's always, you just want to see. You never know how people are going to react.
Right, you don't know.
Like OKC, I just knew after like the first quarter of game one, I was like, oh, these kids ain't ready. Like they
no,
are
and Dirk,
not
that
ready.
was probably the best top to bottom series Dirk played.
Yeah, Dirk was they had nothing for Dirk. Their answer was to throw Serge at him, and he was like, all right.
Well, and Serge got some hype leading into that. I was like, oh, Serge is a Dirk stopper. He was one of the more versatile bigs of his era.
Then Marion was clearly in KD's head the entire series.
Yep.
And then you get to the finals, and you hear about this boogeyman that has been constructed. And then you get to playing, and game one sucked, but at some point it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's another basketball team. It's not like they just roundhouse kicked me into space.
And you talk about not being ready. LeBron wasn't really ready to do what he became yet. And so, and that was in a lot of ways the biggest difference on the Miami side. If LeBron is LeBron for 2 years later, I don't know if this breaks that way.
Yeah, for sure. And it was such a weird, looking back on it now, like, you think LeBron is this fully formed superstar at that moment that can handle anything because he was very mature and he was been through a lot already. And you just assume like, oh, well, he'll figure it out. And no, he didn't figure it out. Dwayne Wade was ready for it.
Dwayne Wade was the best player.
He was more than ready for it.
Yeah, he was the best player for Miami in that series.
And then all those other players, there's just something that happens, and we don't talk about it anymore because super teams don't get built anymore because, reasons.
The league
salary cap, et cetera.
Yeah.
But there's something that happens to those other players on the sides that if they're not the ultimate veteran, ready for the moment type of guy, they just dwindle into nothing because they are such in the shadow guys. Like that type of player didn't exist before then. You didn't know how to use guys like that.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to use an Eddie House or when to get Bibby his looks, right? You just didn't know because that had not been done before with these super teams. And then they obviously figured it out the next year and won the championship and figured out the rotations and LeBron showed up ready.
Yeah.
But it's those guys in the fringes that were dwindling as well. And Wade seemed to be the only dude that was ready.
Because when Miami beat them in 2006, it was a weird team, but it was a bunch of weird, like, remember some guys.
It was Gary Payton.
It was Gary Payton. It was, White Chocolate Williams was on there.
Jason Williams.
I can't remember if Zoe had come back for the kidney thing at that point. He was
there.
There was another one or two. But
Antoine Jameson there?
Antoine Walker was there.
Antoine Walker,
which was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was guys who, they were role players, but those guys had seen things.
Yeah.
And they weren't scared. And the Mavericks were the team that was scared at that point, right? And also, Bennett Salvatore.
Yeah.
But
Shaq helps.
Shaq helps, but Bennett Salvatore.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, it really felt in Game 3. I was at Game 3. Somehow, this is the era of when finals tickets could be had if you did it at the right time. And shout out to other people. We're going to remember some friends in this episode. Shout out Jason Martin, who's upset he hasn't gotten a shout out on this show yet. We were looking on Craigslist all day to try and go to that game.
Nice.
And about like an hour and a half beforehand, a dude was unloading suite tickets. We were in a suite, and it was he unloaded it for face. So we paid about like $450, $500, which when you are 23, 24, and you don't have much money, is a lot of money. But we were looking at nosebleed seats.
That's a week's pay.
We were looking at nosebleed seats that were around there, and we're like, we don't know if this is going to happen again. Yeah. And it's a suite. And we go, Roy Williams, the Cowboy safety, was in that suite.
Hell yeah.
I was high-fiving a former, Kendall Jaycox, who was the former NFL offensive lineman, that we were high-fiving between threes. He's sitting right behind us. It was wild. Completely weird experience. But they lose that game on that baseline jumper for Bosch. But that didn't feel hopeless. That
was the thing I'd forgotten looking back at the series. Was like, why was I so fucking confident like in Game 4? Was it just the Barea thing? And I was like, oh no. Game 2, Miami does their super duper finishing move and doesn't finish us.
Right.
And we come back and win that one. Game 3, they do the finishing move in the second quarter and go at 14. And then all the Mavs are like, adorable. I don't fucking care. We're still gonna have a shot to win the
Right.
game.
Yeah. The aura had worn off.
Second.
The aura had definitely worn off.
So it just felt like no matter how far Miami wanted to get out in front, how many throw alley-oop dunks and how many cool shots from the photographers you were gonna get, all this hype and shit did not matter because the Mavs were gonna walk their asses down by the time that thing got to like 1 minute on the clock. And I was like, oh, we're in their heads now. Because they can go dunk the ball and just be like, did that do anything? Did that end it? Did that fix it?
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like we were just, it's like It Follows, where the thing is like constantly walking down the street at you and chasing you, like it never goes away. And we were the monster. They just could not untether themselves from the Mavs. And that's the thing about teams that you learn is no matter how scary they are, how good they are, how many players over there freak you out, how many first team NBA like guys are over on that side, the worst thing they can do as a collection is probably play for like 7 or 8 straight minutes and kick your ass by like 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll get you in the second half. And that's what the Mavs were so mature. Yeah. So cool.
Mature is the word. Mature is the word.
Cool with letting them go, all right, man, that's all you got? Like, it's the James Franco meme of like, first time here is like the nooses around his neck.
Yeah.
It's that. And then game 4, I had no doubt. I was like, oh, shit, Barea is about to raise some hell.
Well, I'm glad you were confident. I basically didn't think it was over until like about a minute and a half of the whole series. Yeah. I just wasn't there.
Well, not winning the series, just like, no matter what happens in this, we are going to get our licks in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that was game 3, right? That game was close until the end. And yeah, I mean, for me, I'm the only man left who believes the game 4 game winner was as great as 2, just because it's the fever game. You know, he's sick and he's awful. And like, there's a swag to me. And obviously everything with Wade and LeBron. And
he was 1 of 10, I think, in the second and third quarters.
Yeah, he was awful. He was just miserable.
Well, that's the thing about game 2 as well is there was I think it was game 2. No, it was game 3. They played so bad. Like, go look at that box score.
Mm-hmm.
It is 28 made shots. Dirk has 11 of them. If you take Dirk out of the box score, I think they're shooting in below 30% as a team. Yeah. And you still get back into that thing.
Right. And then you win. And to me, there's a lot of swagger about being like, hey, I feel like garbage. You know, Udonis Haslam, that move I did the first time? Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it the other way now.
Yeah.
And then he does it. And it was amazing. And so, and then 5, I mean, it's funny because like so much of 5, I forget. It's just one Jason Terry shot over and over in my brain because like it was the epitome of the whole series of like, Jason Terry should not make that shot over LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
But Jason Terry was mentally there at that point in his career, was ready, and LeBron was not.
He had called out LeBron.
He's an insane person. He's an insane person. It was great. I mean, he has the tattoo on his arm. Like, in the best possible way, he was a little crazy. And you need some guy who has that swagger. If you are not the single most talented roster in the league, and they weren't, you need a dude or two who matters. Not the guy on the bench, but a guy who really matters to just believe you are better than people think you are. Because that's infectious. And Dirk wasn't that type of personality. Dirk was a killer. But Jason Terry exuding that confidence in that way. Yeah. Chandler had it too, but Chandler had it in a more intense way. Jet had it in just like just the flashiest guy at the party. Yeah. And then because he believes it, you believe it. And then he makes that shot. And it's just like, it's unbelievable. And then that was the moment. It's just like, oh, okay. All right. Now they have real problems now. Yeah. You're going home and you have real problems now.
Right. And I know, we'll talk to Rick a lot about the JJ Barea starting decision, but man, it is genius S-tier level stuff to go, okay, this is the Miami Heat. There's Dwayne Wade over there. There's LeBron. There's Chris Bosh. There's whoever they wanted to start at center at the time. The weakest thing that they have across for the first 7 minutes and then probably spots in and out whenever Bibby would play is Mike Bibby. I got a guy over here that can eat Mike Bibby alive, make him a huge problem, and make them go to their bench immediately with Mario Chalmers. And to throw Barea in there as the starter forces action upon them that they don't have an answer for. Because Chalmers was good on Barea like early on, the first couple games, but he wasn't Barea is still going to get his and raise hell and do all kinds of stuff. But throwing Barea in there, I know it's like, oh, of course, like Barea is like the little gutsy Mighty Mouse guy, but the things it made them do and compromise because Bibby was unplayable, because you would just chase his ass with Barea off the bench. You saw Bibby coming in, you'd be like, JJ, go get him. It was awesome.
So I've done a lot of stories in my career, right? That's just kind of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
There are only so many quotes that I remember off the top of my head. And one of them came from a story I did in JJ at the Athletic. It was after he came back from the torn Achilles. Did a whole deep dive. JJ was awesome. Spent a lot of time with him. Talked to his family. Talked, everybody I could think of for his basketball journey. And I talked to his college coach at Northeastern. He talked about the process of finding JJ Barea and recruiting him, because this was a dude who he would look at the box scores and he'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? Why does he not have a million offers? And then like, oh, he's tiny, coach. And finally, like he was playing in Florida. Obviously, he's from Puerto Rico, but he's playing in Florida in high school to try and get noticed. And so eventually the coach was just like, I got to see this. I got to know. Like, you got to show me why I can't if you're putting up numbers like that. And he goes and he watches him. And the quote that he told me was, it was like the 3-headed dog who guards the gates of hell got off the chain.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, if that's not JJ Barea and how he plays.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Just
poor Mike Bibby with $100 million in his bank account.
Yeah.
The last stages of his career.
This icy clean headband.
Yeah. Arizona legend, made man, whatever happened to this. And then JJ's out there on you. Dude, good luck, brother.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You are done. And I mean, shout out Donnie Nelson for finding JJ. And I think that's actually it might have been a Cuban find, oddly enough. Like I need to go listen.
I forget what it was.
I think Cuban saw him play through
I had it in the story about how they found him.
But Cuban was definitely a part of it. Like he had either seen him play and was like, get that guy. I don't know if Donnie like brought the guy to him. You know what I mean? Like
either way, man. Yeah.
Things, but this was a decision that Cuban had more influence on than almost any other.
Yeah.
Of Barea.
Yeah, and he was amazing. And so then you get to 5 and you get to 6, and then they actually win it. And I just remember like, I remember I watched it with my dad. I watched it alone, and he was not a Mavs fan, but he was a New York guy, but we had gone to games in reunion ever since I was a kid. First game I ever saw was the 3J's game, in person, right? So. And I remember driving and had some friends who lived downtown, and I mean, it was just like the traffic near the arena because everybody's honking horns and like that was crazy. And I remember I went down to the parade, and I remember we were all just like, we got there, 7 in the morning, and it's Dallas in June, so it's hot as hell, and we were just drinking at like 7 a.m. And I remember all of us were just like, we just want to see the float, man. But there were so many people, we could not even see the damn float, and like we couldn't even break through those lines. And so we're standing there, and my aforementioned friend JD, who's one of the great optimists that I know, he's telling us, he's like, we're going to be in that arena for the celebration. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no way. He's like, somehow we're going to be in there. I'm like, bro, we can't even see the float. We're not getting in the arena. And somehow this girl in her 20s walks up to like 5 of us. She's like, hey, you want tickets to go in there? We're like looking, we're like, what? She's like, I don't know who dispatched her to hand these out. She wasn't wearing like official Mavs gear.
An angel.
Just a basketball angel who pops down from basketball heaven and just hands us 5 tickets. And then we go in there, and then we like sneak down another level. And so we're like lower bowl, and like we're watching this whole thing happen, and like we cannot believe that this is like a thing. And what was cool,
that was so cool, the indoor stuff. Like
the indoor stuff was great.
The parade route, like everyone does that now. I don't know if everybody does like the indoor. They try and like set up like an outdoor thing, but just I don't know. That just had like such a different vibe.
Yeah, and I think the reason why it had a different vibe is because, as we talked about, and we're going to talk about with Rick, every guy had a moment. So it's not like you had the celebratory, like the random, like, oh, here's the 11th guy whose name you didn't hear the entire postseason. He's got a ring, clap for him because he's here.
Yeah.
Like you bring a Cardinal, it's like Cardinal energy minutes, finals. Mahimi, game 6, 9 points. Corey Brewer, game 1, Lakers series. Peja, Mother's Day Massacre. Every single guy who they brought out who was active in those playoffs did something that if that guy doesn't do that thing, this may not happen. And it was cool. And then, of course, when Dirk comes out last, like, man, like it was unbelievable. There were people crying because, like, I think the biggest universal emotion was just like it was bigger than anybody's feeling as like a fan It was for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like when the Rangers won the World Series, there were people who waited for that for 50 years, and it was amazing. But I don't know if there was a single guy on that roster because it was so new.
No.
You didn't want it for a single entity or player like you wanted it for yourself, which is mostly how this works a lot of the time.
I mean, Scherzer a little bit, but that's just because I've been a Max Scherzer fan forever, and
he also won in Washington.
He also won,
right?
Yeah,
Corey Seager had won. Simeon, that was cool, but they hadn't been here and suffered here, right? Yeah. So it became
that doesn't happen.
Right. So it became this thing where when the Mavs won, I think most people were happy for Dirk than they were themselves. I know I was.
For sure.
Like, I was happy as a Mavs fan who grew up at that and saying, oh my God, I finally saw my team win. But I was mostly happy like this guy who gave everything he had and who like loves this place and who's grown up in this place and who never left, even though he probably should have sometimes.
Yeah. And we saw every minute of it.
Every minute of it. We said like, it's his now. And like, I was happy for him. And I think everybody was happy for him before they're happy for themselves. And that was what made it special. And man, I mean, that's what makes this fun to remember.
I don't know if a city will ever be as attached to a player as we are to Dirk Nowitzki.
I mean, I'm sure there are examples. I just don't know if
that'll ever happen.
I definitely.
Maybe like Buffalo and Josh Allen at some point.
I mean, there have been examples.
You have to have the doubt at the beginning. It has to be not guaranteed.
It has to be not guaranteed, and I think it means more in places like Allen and Buffalo is a good example because like he chose Buffalo. Now, granted, you could sit here and say no franchise quarterbacks change teams.
Mahomes and KC maybe might work, but they've
Elway and Denver years ago was a good one.
Yeah,
but
basketball players not anymore. I mean, if you're one of the dudes, like maybe Brunson in New York over time now, oddly enough,
that'll be one. I mean, certainly, I think Steph in the Bay was a big one. Steph has a lot of those overlaps because they didn't move to San Francisco until after the titles really.
That was the team as a whole too, though. You know what I mean?
It was, but it was Steph.
I know. Yeah,
it was the team, but it was Steph. So like there could be examples. I will agree with you though. If nothing else, I don't think we'll see something like that here again.
No, it'd be insane.
Even if Luka had done it.
Yeah.
And everybody loved Luka like they did. It wouldn't have been the same because it had been done before.
Yeah.
And because like Dirk had suffered in so many ways that like Luka hadn't. And I don't think like, now all four of these big teams have won here. And so like, you don't really have, I suppose, frankly, and we're going to talk about the Wings a little bit. If somehow Page released into a title, that could kind of be like that. But just frankly, I
think the closest thing is if Dak goes on an Elway run where it's like, obviously the last 2 years and the Cowboys somehow, this isn't going to happen. Somehow get
to break it to you when we do these shows this season and
get their head out of their ass and like put together a roster that's good enough, and he is on the last legs of his physical capability to play this well, and they reach a couple Super Bowls. I'd be so happy for him.
Yeah, oh God, yeah. But it still probably wouldn't feel quite.
It would
like
not
this.
be the same.
But yeah, and so that's why like, and then it became the coda to this whole thing was like, on the one hand, yes, it did none of what happened the rest of the way match anybody's hopes or dreams. On the other hand, everybody kind of was just like, okay, yeah, but who cares?
Yeah.
He won. He's here. He's never leaving. The goal basically just became like, towards the end, like I would always joke with people, I'm like, it was kind of like a relative in their golden years. It's just like, make him comfortable. Yeah. Like, what does Dirk want? Yeah. Does Dirk want that thing? Then make sure he retires here. Yeah. Great, cool. Make him comfortable.
He can move to Florida. I don't care. Just let him.
No. No. He needed to stay here. I didn't care what the things they did. So when people are like, oh, they missed the playoffs again, or oh, they won the first round. Is Dirk still here?
Yeah.
Does Dirk still have that ring? Is that banner still there? Cool. Yeah. Okay, fine. Cool.
And I don't want to put a sour twist at the end, but all of those lessons we learned and all of this stuff that we went through and all
chucked out the window.
And all this loyalty and this duty that we have to other people and people we, are coworkers with, the new regime, ownership, etc., knows none of that. None of that. Like 0% of that. There would be no patience for letting Dirk age into the sunset. There just wouldn't.
I think there's at least a glimmer of hope that if they defer to Masai Ujiri and Mike Schmitz the way that we think, that those guys get it. I think Masai, you got to remember, Masai was loyal as he could be to Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan until basically his hand got forced.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've done this for 6-7 years. I have to try something. But then they honored those two dudes even after they left in every way they could.
Yeah.
Mike Schmitz, by all accounts, you won't hear people say bad things about him.
Yeah.
I do think these dudes, if they're empowered, can bring some of that back here. But
I think so. But it'll
the guy
never,
signing the checks,
yeah.
I don't know.
It'll never be. That's the whole other aspect of this that we don't have time to get into. Is the whole Donnie Nelson, Mark Cuban running the thing.
Yes, yeah.
Just the uniqueness of.
Felt like a family business.
It was a family business. It was a family business that made good and made the #1 album somehow.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck does that happen?
Right. And like, part and parcel with that, it's like, it's not as buttoned up. You get some chaos when that happens, but you get charm and love and sentiment, and it means more.
It's not a business to you. It is their actual lives.
Like, to peel back the curtain, we work at a place like that. We work at a family-owned media company. Yeah. And there are times when sometimes it's chaotic here, but it's people, not a board or not some faceless entity or corporation. It's people. We know who signs our checks. We know who owns the company. It's the widow of the guy who founded it, she's been in the wars for a lot of stuff. And I feel that on a smaller level, and that's part of why I'm here. I bet that's part of why you're here. So like that stuff's real, and that was a thing with the Mavericks. And they say what you will ever will about Mark Cuban. He cared. He always, always, always cared, and that's why that thing meant a lot to him. And that's why that dude shelled out a hell of a bill to party at Live. After they won Game 6.
Oh, yeah. Cash in some stock that next morning to go, oh, my God, what is this? But no, I mean, that's a great point you bring up. Like, you and I are both lucky enough to work in this industry. Yeah. And we're lucky enough to be able to choose where we want to work. Yeah. Like, we are not handcuffed to anything. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not, working 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Y'all Street. That's not happening. And if you have the opportunity and you're talented enough and work hard enough at it, yeah, I choose to work at a place where the owner gives a shit. Yes. That's kind of one of my things. Yes. One of the things I really care about. Yeah. The tenet of me. And I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure it's my parenting. I'm sure it's where I grew up. But Mark Cuban was going to die if he did not win an NBA title. Oh, yeah. He was going to die trying. Yeah. That was without doubt to me. Yeah, and that wasn't just lip service, right? Like, there's another owner in town who says that stuff, and he doesn't really back it up. Yeah. Mark backed it up every step of the way. Yeah. And now that we get long enough timeline away from the happenings of 2011, I realize more than anything that the Heat weren't just playing the Mavs. They were playing this mound of expectation and heat and furnace, no pun intended, just this furnace of media. And if you don't win the title, nothing else matters. I mean, I think they crumbled underneath it, and I have no sympathy for them because they created it. Yeah, they chose it. They chose this path. And to their credit, then they figured it out, and they won anyways. Props to them. They eventually figured it out, and that's an accomplishment in itself. Yes, absolutely. That's cool. Like, I was not happy for them whenever they eventually won, but I was like, you know what? Good for you guys. Yeah, golf clap. You golf clapped for it. Yeah. You wrestled the dragon that is everyone saying you ain't shit unless you win a title. And you know what? You did it. You paid off. Yeah. All right, Mike, you got to explain something to me. All right, let's go. Why is the giant white center from Michigan rising up into the top 10 of everybody's draft boards this late? Are we in bullshit season? I don't know. I might not be. We're talking about Aday Mara, a very large adult son. He's 7'3". Yeah, I think it's a couple things. I think it's one, this dude is very good at what he does. And what he does is he protects the rim. I'm going to give you some numbers. We're going to pull up the mic phone. Nothing has ever gone wrong. Will not go wrong. Nothing has ever gone wrong when I have done this. It'll slide off into a Google tab somewhere. Yeah. Opposing teams, 54.5% at the rim when he was on the floor compared to more than 60% off of it. That's per College Basketball Analytics, and our guy Sam Vecini citing that. Opposing teams in the paint, 36% from two. Okay. So this dude protects the rim. And if you watch him, and listen, we've come full circle on Rudy Gobert. We went from Rudy is great to Rudy's overrated to no, Rudy is properly rated. If you can see Rudy's such a dork. Rudy's a dork, but Rudy is damn good at what Rudy does. Yeah. And here is a guy who you can squint and say there is some Rudy to him. He's huge, but his feet move very well. You can't get into the rim against that guy. And also, this is the wrinkle with him that's really interesting. This guy's a really good passer out of the interior. And when you think about ways to build something around Cooper Flagg, if you don't like the lead guard crop the way that we like the lead guard crop, like if you're going to do the thing that's going to make me like scream into a pillow and not take Kingston Flemings if he's there for some reason, but you say, we do need some more distribution on this team. Maybe an interior guy who could really distribute and run through him and do some
poor man's Jokic, Draymond stuff. Is a way to creatively build around Cooper Flag. So you have that unique skill set of the floor, I think, is very high. If nothing else, that dude will protect your rim, and he will not be a zero on offense because he can do some stuff at the rim. He can also kick stuff out. And I also think it's the fact that, like, it's not like there are a ton of, like, pure bigs in this draft. Mm-hmm. You have that early run, you know, in the top 4, you have a few forwards, and you have a Cam Boozer who's kind of sort of a big, but, like, it's also a weird collection of skills. If you watch it, the slightly biased, you could go back and see that. Then
I bet Boozer plays down in the league.
Yeah, assuming he's athletic enough.
Yeah.
So then you don't have bigs early.
Yeah,
there's a reason Nate Ament is getting talked about.
Yeah.
Nate Ament, I don't think if this is a better big draft, even though he's kind of a big wing hybrid, whatever, he's not getting talked about top 10 in this type of a talent pool. It's that the talent pool is so concentrated in the backcourt. So I think Aday Mara, when you look at that and you say, well, the floor is very good, and he could be potentially like a really high elevating force for my defense as a big. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who else I'm going to call in for that job in this draft.
Yeah.
That plays a role, right? It's a little Fernando Mendoza-ish of Fernando was really good. Is Fernando in this next draft? If this many quarterbacks go pro, is Fernando the 1-1? No. Nah. But he's the only game in town, which is why Ty Simpson went early, because it's like the train stops here.
Mm-hmm. And whether we like it or not, or respect it or not, or think it's like antiquated or not, NBA GMs, I don't know, half of them, 2/3 of them are still size queens.
Especially when now there's more and more of that stuff coming around. Yeah. And if you are Dallas and you look at who is in the finals from the West, and you look at, you have to deal with that guy for a very, very, very long time. Here's the thing. This guy is about as good an option as you could think to deal with some of that. He is also your potential Derek Lively insurance. And if they take him, I don't care what combination of words come out of Masai Ujiri and Mike Schmitz's mouth. None of them will say in so many words, we are afraid about Derek Lively. Yeah. They will never say it. And you know what? They might not be. We don't know the medicals. They do. Mm-hmm. For all we know, and I'm knocking on wood, you know Derek Lively. You speak very highly of him as a human. Even if you weren't a great dude, you just don't want to see people's injuries, careers get derailed by injuries. But I will not feel like Derek Lively is in the place that everybody wants him to be in, that everybody is saying he will be in if you're drafting Aday Mara at 9 and with the last great pick you have. That tells me you are scared. And best case scenario, maybe it works out and then you have 2 freaky bigs and you decide what to do then. But you will not sell me on the fact that you are confident about Derek Lively's health and his future if you're taking this prospect at 9, because chances are you will have at least one really good guard option there mathematically.
Yeah, and I love Lively. I love Derek as a person. He knows that. I love his game. Yeah. I don't know why we're not asking the same questions of him that we're asking of Gafford and PJ Washington, et cetera, because the track record of him playing well, which is what we remember and what we can quote and say he's a top 15, 20 center when he plays, is with a completely different unit, with a completely different team, with a completely different guy handling the ball.
I think it's valid, but I would say the counter to that is twofold. It's one, physically, if he's healthy, like just the frame and the skill set should be able to play in most contexts. He's more than 7 feet tall and he can move.
I don't mean that it has to be a negative. I'm just saying anything you think you know about Lively is probably not there.
The other thing, though, is just like you can't trade him.
No.
You will not get anything for him. No. Whereas I think Gafford and Washington, you can. Yeah. And you can actually make a case that it's almost irresponsible if you don't, because if you hire a coach that can't cater to them and then you have 2 seasons that don't look great on tape, even if it's purely contextual, your value proposition drops a lot.
Yeah, not from a trade asset standpoint. Sorry, I should clarify. Just in the sense that I don't know how Derek Lively fits next to Cooper Flag at all.
Okay. Zero. We haven't seen it, right?
Zero understanding of that. So, like, I know Slightly was on here a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Yeah, Derek Lively's a great player when he plays," and I'm like, in a completely different universe than it used to be. Yeah. Not that I love Derek. I hope Derek comes back and plays 82 games and lives up to his potential, because I think he can fit in with almost any team. He's a pogo stick. He's just one of the most unique big men that exist in the league. Right. Like what Nick Claxton is. Like, I think Derek could easily be that if he's healthy. And that's a great player that got $30 million a year or whatever, right? So I'm pro keeping Lively on the team. If we're going to speak with any certainty on how this fits with whatever this next thing is, I don't think there is any. And so if you go into this and say, okay, I need a big that can defend the rim, check with Aday Mara. The Michigan guys, I don't know if y'all have watched Michigan the last couple of years. Those big men have some wiggle and some passing that
you don't see a lot.
Danny Wolf, he was like my favorite player last year. I love Danny Wolf, dude. He's so weird. He plays so weird for a dude that's like 6'9", 6'10".
Well, Merez Johnson, who's Isaac's crush. I mean,
Merez,
same deal.
Yeah, they're all very unique. If you're gonna give me a big man, it's gonna fit in the modern NBA. I mean, it is tricky because you gotta your coach has to trust you to do this shit before they're actually gonna do it. And most coaches are like, big man, go run, jump, block. Mm-hmm. They don't even let them like handle the ball at the nail until they're like year 3 or something.
Right.
Still got my stock in Danny Wolf. I'm not cashing out yet.
Okay.
But
all right.
I'm intrigued by Mara. I'm not intrigued in 9. And I think the only reason he is in this range is because there are no other men of his size.
Yeah, scarcity.
And that's fine. And if that pushes somebody back further to us, or multiple options back further to us because he goes 8 or 7 or 6. Great. And then,
yeah, these Nate Amen to Brooklyn rumors are fantastic.
Yeah, pray to the gods. Wagler gets there. Flemings. Michael Brown. Push one of these guards down because that makes so much more sense to me. Yes. But I don't hate the player. I'm just like, okay, 12. Yeah, if you want to do the move back thing and get 12 and 17 for 9 and whatever, go for it. Like, take Aday Mara at 12, but it's also gonna say something about how you're building the team. Undeniably.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's gonna tell you that Gafford's for sure gone and that they don't trust Lively, I think.
Yeah, I think there's no way to at least have some of that coloring your perception. No. You know who's built a pretty interesting team? The Dallas Wings.
They have.
We've deliberately not talked about them for a bit. We wanted to get some sample size because we've been down this road before where we look and say they're frisky and it's interesting, but they're frisky and they're interesting. They are 7-4, but they've lost twice to 2 teams. One of those teams is Minnesota, which might be the best team in the league right now.
They are, yep.
Paige Becker's looking real good. AZ Fudd in the starting lineup right now, making some shots. Jessica Shepard, we're going to talk about Jessica Shepard. She rules, man. So are you buying that things are different right now? Where are you at with this?
I don't know if anything's different, but it's more fun for me right now at this moment. Like, Jess Shepard getting a couple triple doubles is cool as hell.
Before anybody else in the league got one, she got 2.
She's got 2. Paige is turning into the player that we all think Paige can be. Whether or not AZ's on pace with Olivia Miles as of right now, we'll give her some more time.
It's early.
It's early.
Let's not rush to judgment.
Yeah, let's not cash those tokens out right now. But it's a good, deep, fun team in a way that it hasn't been in a long time. And I remember in past years where, it'd be kind of interesting or they'd start kind of hot and you're like, yeah, but look at that rest of that roster. Like, that's not real, is it? And there's, one playoff in there that was really fun. I was excited about it when it happened. But it just feels like a different roster. It's a legitimate
There's a lot of
roster.
talent.
There's a ton of talent. There's a coach that seems like he is not scared to call them out in a second.
College coach, man.
And they're
going to bullshit.
Grow. They're going to grow, and he's going to help them grow. The last time they played Minnesota, he was like, that was some selfish basketball. What the hell? And they got smoked by Minnesota again. And hey, if you can't beat the best team in the league,
there are worse things.
There are worse things, and you're probably still ahead of schedule a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm enthused. I like watching teams whenever they are still in the plucky fun stage, before expectation gets to them, and we're just like, oh, that's disappointing. We're in the sweet spot of plucky fun stage for the Wings, and
which is fun. In a lot of ways, it is the most fun thing, unless your team actually wins the title, because there's no pressure. You're enjoying it. I think the Shepard thing is great because it gives them a different way to play. If you don't have a pure 1 on this roster, well, a way to get around that, other than having multiple people who can handle the ball and distribute, like they do in various degrees with Beckers and with Enrique and with AZ Fudd, is you have a big on the inside who can really, really pass, right? If you want a little, why is Aday Mara getting hyped in the NBA draft? Watch what Jessica Shepard does in the WNBA. She's great at distribution. I think there are 2 things that, are kind of the big questions for me as far as how high the ceiling goes. The more immediate term one is Alana Smith, different player. Alana Smith, co-defensive player of the year recently. She comes down on a max contract. She has not been playing well. That's the person you pay to protect the interior. If she's not doing what she needs to do, and there has been a facial injury, and it's early, maybe she's adjusting, who knows? But she's got to be what they're paying for. And if that doesn't happen, then you get to a situation where it's like, who's protecting the interior? And Awak Kuir, who was former number 2 overall pick, has come back from playing overseas. She's been really fun. I don't know if she's ready to be that player full time. Even if she's playing a lot of minutes, you need more than that. And you're paying someone a max deal. That's what Alana needs to be doing. The second piece of that, which is more existential, more long term, is, and it's the question with this team, is does Arike Ogunbowale, who is a franchise legend, is she the ideal partner for Beckers and AZ Fudd? Because especially with her and Beckers, they're similarly sized. They're score first guards who can handle. Neither's a pure distributor. Arike more the sort of player who you want on the ball all the time. Paige can play off ball really well. AZ can. But will this work long term? And I don't think it's not working. They're winning. They're successful. They're fun. They're interesting. I think the question is this the most ideal construction? And I'm not paid to know that. I think we have to get more sample. Last year, there were so many problems with this roster, and it was a different coach, and there's injuries, and there's not a lot of talent in some places. I think this year you get a real sample size. By the end of the year, we're going to know the answer. And then at that point, it becomes, okay, well, what do you do about it? Hopefully it's, yes, they're great together. It's perfect. It's unconventional, but it works. And then you just wait for them to keep getting older because these teams need time to grow up. If that's not the answer, then you sort of have to ask yourself, okay, well, then what piece do we need? Because you know that Beckers is here. You know that Fudd is here. I would say the 2 bigs are here in the intermediate term, but they're not the same age. But it's the Paige and AZ show, and that won at UConn. So figure out what you need to place around them, whether it's replicating that UConn roster in some way or it's something different. What needs to be around them to win? Because those 2 women are going to be the backbone of whatever comes next year.
Yeah, and having 3 backcourt players that I would consider all tweeners in their own kind of way.
Correct. Yeah.
You might say in like the NBA, that's fine because over 82 games, you can figure it out and you can take turns of running these sets versus that set. Like this season is so much shorter. It is a college-sized season.
Right.
Where you need things clean.
Yeah.
You need things precise. It's almost like going into high school basketball seasons back in the day when like we would, every kid on the team is in between 5'11" and 6'6". And there's not really, it's just, can you shoot or can't you? You decipher it by that, right? But you need to know your role. You need to know who the lead ball handler is in every situation, who you're trying to get the ball to, and who's playing down low.
Yep.
Because you don't have time. You fuck around and 5 games are gone figuring this stuff out and figure out who the key ball handler is. Okay, no, it's not my turn. AZ is going to be off ball tonight. Beckers is going to be on ball. Arike, just do you. The more time you spend working through this, because that's what has to be ironed out.
Yeah.
It just has to. The roster is a little bit of a logjam right now, and I'm not saying just get off Arike as soon as you can, but that's the obvious one, right? We can all see that. I don't know how they sort that out, because without a true point guard in a really, really short season, that gives me a lot of anxiety about how this thing is going to work and how the roles are going to be defined. And it's not, you don't have time to figure it out. There is not a long runway to work this shit out.
No.
You can't mess around for 10 games and go like, yeah, I think this will work or that'll work. And it's just the in-between year. It is. It's the year before. You're like, okay, everybody's locked into place and everyone knows the role and this is how it's going to work. And, I'd love it if it can work with Arike and Paige. And
Arike is the sort of player who has been here through a lot of stuff.
She's cool as hell, dude. I love her.
She's cool, and she chose to stay.
Yeah.
And that has not been the story of this franchise. People don't stay.
Yeah.
She has stayed. And it would be really cool if they find a way to do this when she is here. Mm-hmm. The reality, though, is that if push comes to shove and they decide that they can't make it work with her and Paige, it ain't going to be Paige who goes. Right. It's just a different caliber of player. And so that's the thing that they're going to have to sort out going forward.
Yeah.
You want to get to the main event?
We've done enough talking.
We have.
We got a big one. For some reason, he answered my text. I don't know why, but thank you, Coach.
Rick Carlisle and me, 2 people who answer your text.
Yeah. Off-season Rick in the house. Good mood Rick is in the house. Not locked in yet, is in the house. Rick Carlisle, one of 14 men ever won a championship as a player and as a coach. Obviously, a key component, one of the most key components in the 2011 NBA championship run, joins us next. Rick Carlisle in the house. Let's go. He is one of 14 people to ever win an NBA championship as a player and a coach. He has 1,000 career regular season wins under his belt, and he's also the best table tennis player in any room that he steps in the United States. You didn't know that about him?
I didn't know that about him.
Oh, he's nice. It is the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, Rick Carlisle. Coach, how are you doing?
I'm well. I'm not playing much table tennis anymore.
What are you into right now?
I'm doing fine. I was playing some back in those days when I was in Dallas.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see you. Where do we find you today?
I'm in Virginia.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Back home. There you go. All right. Well, we're obviously on the 15th anniversary of the 2011 title, which, I mean, changed our lives to some degree, but I'm sure changed yours quite a bit as well.
A little more than ours, I would say.
I can't think of anybody else to talk to more about that time and the memories and just like looking back on it at this point and how the history has changed. But you came here to Dallas in 2008, and I wanted to ask you about your understanding coming from ESPN and coming from other locations about just all the scar tissue that was here whenever you came in of 2007, of 2006 in the finals, and how you went about addressing that in 2008, because it was a lot of the same players that had gone through all that stuff. So as a coach, how did you step in and go, hey, forget that crap, let's move forward?
Well, anytime you come to a new situation, it is, there is a page being turned. And so, we didn't want to look back. We wanted to look ahead. We wanted to make some adjustments, but what you find with coaching when you go into a new situation is that the previous coach, in this case Avery Johnson, who did a tremendous job and won a ton of games and got into the finals, was doing a lot of things that were very smart, and we ended up keeping a lot of those concepts in. The mandate was pretty clear. There was a window of about 4 or 5 years where Dirk was going to be, in his absolute prime, and we needed to find a way to get it done within that time period. And so, 2009 was a bit of an uneven year. We had a good ending. On the last day of the season, we thought we won our 50th game to become the 8th seed, but some other stuff happened around the league, and we ended up 6, playing against the Spurs, who were 3. And it was a good matchup for us, and we won that series, and so we got to the second round. So, that year was seen as a positive. And then going into the second year, obviously we wanted to build on that. Second year, we had a rough loss in the first round, which was very difficult for everyone. And then, coming back the third year, we traded for Tyson Chandler, which was a very important move to finish the team off. And, it just, there were some tough stretches. There was the period, late December, early January, where Dirk missed, I think, 11 games because of something happened to his knee in the game at Oklahoma City late December. And we went 2-9 during those games, and that was tough. But he came back, and then we were able to build it back up, got some momentum down the stretch. And then that year in 11, we were the 3 seed. And I'll never forget it. I mean, watching the regular season games, the last day of the season, I should say the last night, and there was a Western game where it was the Lakers were playing Sacramento in Sacramento. And if the Lakers lost, we were going to be playing New Orleans in the first round, which would have been a more favorable matchup than Portland. But Kobe Bryant hit a 3 late. The thing got to overtime. The Lakers won, and then we were playing Portland in the first round, which was a very difficult matchup and a very tough series. But we got through it in 6 games and actually won the deciding game on the road, which I think was a big momentum builder and confidence builder as we headed into the Lakers series.
When you look back to that season, obviously there's things that go by the wayside because you did end up winning the title, and winning cures all and you forget all the bad stuff. But like the Caron Butler injury always gets pushed to the side by people that are just like, "I remember that year." But what was the most difficult challenge for you coaching through that 2010-2011 season?
Well, coming back that year, we all believed that Rodrigue Beaubois was going to be a very important part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he was injured in training camp, broke his fifth metatarsal. And so he was out for a long period of time. We all thought that he was going to be an integral part of us being able to take the next step, and be a championship level team. And he ended up coming back around the All-Star break. And he did pretty well as he came back. But as the season was going on, it was tough with him as a starter because we lacked positional size. The period where he missed games was difficult for him. To come back and try to get regular season, full season game conditioning was really tough. And so as the thing wound down, he was kind of phased out of the lineup, and Deshaun Stevenson became the starter. And it gave us more positional size, more toughness, more overt attitude as a team. And he was a very important part of our run that year.
Going to Caron real quick, because that was something that was quite a curveball. Tears his knee up on New Year's Day. You hear stuff on the outside of, cliches about next man up and stuff like that. What does it actually look like as a coach when here's a pretty vital piece of your offense, arguably your second best scorer, and it's just over midway through the year? How do you actually re-engineer a team to overcome and kind of overcompensate for a loss like that, especially on the offensive end?
Well, we were deep. We had a very deep roster. And I mean, really, in a way, we had too many guys. I mean, there weren't enough minutes for him and Sean Marion, to both play the three. And, Marion was also playing a little bit of four. But, you don't want to lose a guy like Caron. But in this particular situation, it shored up our rotation. And, it was kind of set. We were 9 guys. Marion would start at 3, bump to 4 when Dirk went out. Dirk would come back in, Marion would come out, and we had a good synergy with the whole thing. And while we missed Caron and we missed the depth, on the one hand, on the other hand, there was going to be some juggling and stuff with the rotation that was going to have some challenges to it. So certainly didn't want to lose him. But the fact that we did, Mark and Donnie had done such a great job building up the roster. And we had Brian Cardinal as a utility guy that could play 3 and 4. And, during periods after Butler went out, when we were having foul issues or maybe somebody get banged up for a game or something like that, Cardinal would come in, and he was amazing the way he could come in and fill in, and he would bring some different elements that would help the team in his own right. So we were able to figure it out from there. And then the other thing that happened was that we signed Stojakovic somewhere. I want to say it was mid to late January, but after we signed him, he had been out for a while. I think he was with Toronto. And so we took about 2 or 2.5 weeks just to work with him to get his conditioning where it needed to be. And then we started playing him. And, I don't remember all the minute details of it, but he had a rough start. And then finally we had a game in Houston where we decided to, I think we started him, and he finally caught a rhythm in that game. And from there, things kind of built up, and he really helped us down the stretch of the season. A lot of folks will remember game 3 of the Lakers series. We're up 2-0. We win the 2 games in LA. We come home, and game 3 was a beast of a game. And Stojakovic had a great game. He was making shots. Lamar Odom kept trying to attack Peja with Peja on defense. Peja was holding his own, at one end, and then he was hitting shots at the other end. And we ended up winning a very, very close game to go up 3-0. And then, the floodgates kind of let loose in game 4, and we got the sweep. But as the season went on, there were elements that were there, so that we could absorb the loss of a guy like Caron Butler.
Yeah, you mentioned Peja and Brian Cardinal, and those guys were vets at that point, and you probably had a handle for what they would bring when called upon. But the favorite thing I think Mavs fans always talk about when they talk about this run is that there was a Peja game. There was a Corey Brewer game. There were multiple J.J. Barea games. There was a Mahinmi game. Did any of those guys that you called upon that got some extra run, extra spots here and there that you were like, wow, I didn't know that guy had it in him. He kind of jumped past what I was expecting him to do in this little time where I was just trying to get some relief in the lineup or whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Corey Brewer because it was game 1 of the Lakers series. So we're on the road. Yeah. We're down 16 in the third quarter. And I remember coming into the coaches huddle, with Terry Stotts and Dwayne Casey. And I said, well, what do you think? Should we throw Brewer in there? Because he was a guy that would just kind of launch himself into games. He was another in-season acquisition for us. And they were like, sounds good. So we threw him in there, and I don't know how many minutes he played, but we went from down 16, and I think we cut the deficit to 3 points. And then from there, we were able to get really close at the end and steal the game. So, we steal game 1 of that series. And then I don't know, I don't know how the Lakers felt about it. It seemed, looking back, like they felt like, okay, all right, well, these guys stole a game, but we'll be fine here. And then we came out and played better in the second game and won the second game. And finally the third game, I mean, they threw the kitchen sink at us in the game that I was referring to, where Peja had the great game. And then finally, we kind of broke them in that game. And then game 4, the building was crazy. We hit a record number of 3-pointers in the game. Jason Terry, Barea, Dirk was going nuts. Kid was hitting shots. It was kind of the perfect storm. And then, all of a sudden, we've got 8 wins, and then we're waiting to see who we play. And I remember, the night after that, the night after we had beaten the Lakers, I think Oklahoma City was playing game 7 against Memphis. And that was to see, who was going to be our opponent. And then of course it was OKC, with their young guns. I mean, and look, they got 3 guys that are going to be easy first ballot Hall of Famers that were playing, with Westbrook, Durant, and of course Harden. So, that series was the next one.
Yeah. What's the biggest thing, before we get in the nitty-gritty of series by series, for you as a head coach? This is obviously, it's your first ring. You've coached more games this season than you ever have. What's the biggest lesson you learn about yourself as a coach going through this whole run?
Well, I'd been in a lot of playoff games before this. Been in, in the conference finals with both teams that I had been with previously, Detroit and Indiana. So, and was involved in, in a finals run when I was an assistant coach with the Pacers with Larry Bird. So, I've been in a lot of these games. As time goes on, though, the game does change. The Mavericks were a different kind of team than I'd ever coached. It was more of a running, jump shooting team than my Indiana or Detroit teams were. The Indiana and Detroit teams were more physical, more inside out teams. This was the Mavericks were kind of the opposite, So I was learning some of the nuances of a different kind of roster. And fortunately, Jason Kidd was in an advanced age, but he was still a great player. And Dirk was 33, I think, at the time, and he was, to me, I mean, it's the greatest individual finals run I've ever seen. You look at teams that get to the finals and win now, and in many cases they have, one and usually two MVP candidate type guys on the team. Dirk never really had that in any of the years. And if you look at the metrics and the analytics on him in his career, I think at one point in time, he was the single biggest difference maker in NBA history in terms of the on-off court metrics and the way he affected the game positively for his team. So, he was a very, very special player. I mean, I think that goes without saying here. But yeah, and so, but as I'm going through it, all these experiences are new. They're new and they're coming at you. And fortunately, I had a great staff and a great veteran team, and we worked together to get through it.
I know you probably had big plans for what you wanted to do with Dirk, and that's why you took the job initially, the potential of him and the superstar that he could be. But you were his third head coach, right? And the previous two head coaches had ideas of how to utilize him. Don Nelson had his own plan. Avery had his own plan. But whenever you got here and you got your hands on Dirk, what was your plan to get the most out of him and turn him into the player we know now?
Well, our system evolved over those 3 years. My first, second, and third year. Third year, my first year, about a little less than halfway through, I talked to Jason Kidd about doing the play calling and basically running the team. I wanted to get away from it. It was pretty clear to me that he had a great handle on the team, and that was an important moment and element at that time. And then as we went over the next year and a half into 2011, it was clear to me that I needed to, bring these guys concepts that would allow them the opportunity to make plays. We were a better team when we weren't necessarily calling plays. We were better when we were moving randomly and moving the ball randomly and were unpredictable. And so that's how it evolved, and then all the pieces fit together so well. I mean, you had Kidd, Barea, as I mentioned, Stevenson became a starter that year. And then in the finals, he went from starting to coming off the bench, and we started Barea to get another playmaker against Miami because they were so good defensively. And then Stevenson played better as a guy off the bench than he did as a starter. And, that's, that kind of thing, that's special. I mean, that's really special. And then Barea was, he had a great playoff. So, the teams that we had to beat that year, we needed a randomness to how we played offensively. We became a very good defensive team, and Tyson Chandler had a lot to do with that. And we were big. We had him. We had Brendan Haywood, and then Haywood got hurt in game 2 of the finals, and so Mahimi ended up being the guy that was playing the backup minutes. And in the decisive game, which you guys are probably referring to as the Mahimi game, he had 9 points. And he had a jumper at the end of the third quarter to put us up 9. So in Game 6, which was the deciding game. So all these guys, they all stayed ready, and they were all dialed in, and they all had a sense of the moment and what it was all about.
You referenced the Thunder and what those three guys became. They weren't that first year when you play them, as far as there's this time-honored tradition in the NBA, it seems, where a lot of teams, no matter how talented they are, they need that first run to kind of take a little bit of some lessons and lick their wounds, and then they come back and they get that proverbial experience. We're even seeing some of this with San Antonio right now, where the Knicks kind of shell-shocked them out of the gate, even though a lot of people expected San Antonio to be favored. That Knicks team, you saw them a year ago, had to learn some lessons. What does it actually look like, though, right? We hear this on the outside. Oklahoma City, the next year, they beat you guys in the first round. But playing them, a lot of the same pieces were there, but you beat them in, I believe it was 5. What actually happens to where you could see it as a coach where, oh, this team has taken that mental leap, even when the physical ability was already there when I saw them last time?
Well, the year we played them, they were very young, and they weren't ready to really win yet. I mean, they were in the conference finals, but that was the whole thing, is that they had breathtaking young talent that could beat you if you weren't right. And what happened in that series was we won the first game, and we had Dirk had 48 points. He was 24 for 24 from the free throw line, and we won by 4 or 5 or something like that. It was a very close game. I talked to the team after that game, in between game 1 and game 2, and I cautioned everyone that we were getting seduced into playing the Thunder's game, which is a faster game. Our game was, we were fast, but we weren't as physically fast or athletic as them, and we were getting into a shot trade with them, and that was not the way for us to win the series. And so in game 2, they stole home court. I mean, it turned out to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so then we're 1-1 headed to Oklahoma City, and we had some very serious discussions about, where we were, what historically, what the moment meant, and were we going to allow these guys that really weren't ready yet to take this from us. And so we had a great response in game 3. Game 4 at Oklahoma City, so we get home court back in game 3. We were way up most of the game. They made a run. It was close, and we ended up winning game 3. Game 4, we got down a bunch of points. I mean, look, if you're going to win a championship, you're going to have some games where you make some comebacks that are kind of off the hook. And the first one was game 4 against Oklahoma City. I don't remember what we were down. I think we were down 17 or 19. And back in those days, I mean, now in today's NBA, that kind of a lead or deficit isn't that much. Back then, it was more.
Mm-hmm.
We came back. We hung around. We had developed real mental and physical resolve as a team that year. And Tyson Chandler had a lot to do with it. Jason Kidd had a lot to do with it. Dirk was always very, very tough-minded, and so we essentially steal game 4, and then we're coming back home to play game 5, to move on to the finals. And in that game, they went really small. I mean, I remember Dirk was guarding Eric Maynor for a number of minutes in that game. And it was a ball buster game, and we ended up winning at the very end, but it was difficult. And so there we were, Western Conference champions, and looking forward to the finals. And I don't know if it had been decided yet who we were going to play. I think
y'all were waiting.
Miami was still playing, probably Boston. I think
was it Chicago or Boston?
I think it was Chicago. I think
it was Derrick Rose, Chicago, I think.
Okay, okay, there you go, Chicago. And so I I don't know. I think that may have gone 6 games. I don't really remember, but we had a little bit of time before all that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Miami was the story of the league that year, right? I think we all know that in terms of just everything starting with LeBron going there up until you play them. When you're preparing for them, what was the biggest challenge? Was it talent? Was it psychological? Was it just the spectacle? Although, it's the finals, there's always going to be a spectacle. What was the biggest thing you're eyeing going in as this is where we have to win?
Well, I mean, the matchups and the talent were a problem. They had 3 guys with Bosch, Wade, and James that were, these guys were all first ballot Hall of Famers. And, and so, and they had put together a roster of guys around those guys. They had shooting, they had defense, and playmaking. And so, they had a hell of a team. And yeah, the spotlight was on them all year. I know we were a big underdog headed into the series. How big, I don't remember. Game 1, we didn't play well at Miami. Game 2, we get down, I think 15 with 6 minutes to go. Wade hit a 3 or something, and then the place went crazy. And then I think we called timeout, and then we came out of the timeout, and then we went on a run, and we were able to, kind of walk the game down and get a chance to put the ball in Dirk's hands at the end. And he made a great play getting to the left-handed layup, which gave us the lead. So that was enormously huge. But a lot of people don't remember that, we came home for game 3 and lost game 3 at home, and so, and then in those days it was 2-3-2.
Yep.
Which I always thought was very difficult for the team that played the 3 home games in the middle of the series. It was something that was done in the 80s. In fact, I was a first or second year player with the Celtics, and I guess it was my first year, was 85 finals. It was the first year they did it, and they did it so that to make it more favorable for the media. So the media only had to travel, twice, to the home team's venue, then to the road, and then back to the home team's venue. So I guess 3 times instead of, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you go 2-2, 1-1-1. So anyway, the league was very smart getting the series back to 2-2, 1-1-1, because it just plays better. But we go home and lose game 3, and there's all this stuff going on, and Dirk had the illness, and there was all the stuff that went along with that. And game 4, he played a heroic game and hit the game winner in game 4. Game 5, we came out and played better, and Jason Terry was the closer in that game. And LeBron was chasing him around in the fourth quarter, and Jet got it going. And then so then we were up 3-2, headed to Miami.
That second half of game 3 heading into game 4 is probably the most pivotal point in this entire series to me, because at least from the outside, watching us get down in game 2 and come back and fetch them and then eventually win that one, and then doing it again the next game, being down by 14 and then coming back, it felt like no matter what Miami did, they could have the greatest first half, whatever, we're going to come back. We're going to be in this thing with 1 possession left. And that just gave me a lot of hope that no matter what happened, these guys were going to walk it down. They were going to be in the game in the last minute. I don't know if that had a psychological effect on y'all, that you could go, hey, these guys aren't better than us. We can always get back in this thing. But then the Barea decision going into the next game was huge as well. So I guess that end of game 3 going into game 4, you made a huge change. It might not seem like a huge change, but it is, with Barea and Stevenson. Just talk to me about that period and what your thought process was and why you had the confidence to throw JJ in there.
Well, Barea, it was a guy that always rose to the moment. I mean, he had been there. He'd been there all 3 years that I was there to that point. And anytime we made him a starter, played him in crunch time, whatever. I mean, he was fearless and he produced. I mean, he was a winner. He just got things done. And as we went into the series, you want to have some moves that you can make. Sometimes the right thing is to go ahead and start a guy, who's a different guy to start the series. We didn't feel like matchup wise it was the right thing to do in game one. But at some point, the Berea move gave us another playmaker and another attacker, which you got to have against a great defensive team against like Miami. And so, when we went to starting Berea, Mike Bibby had to guard him, and that's a tough matchup. It became a tough matchup for Miami. And then finally, I think in game 6, they started playing Eddie House instead of Bibby, and House actually got going a little bit, but we were still able to win the game. But yeah, the Berea move was something that was in our hip pocket that we were saving for hopefully the right moment.
Let's bring the timelines to now. We could talk about 2011 for about an hour more if we want, but you're obviously still in the league, still very successful head coach with the Indiana Pacers, but you were here and you were the head coach whenever the Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic draft happened for the Mavs, which crazy to see where those guys' careers came from. But Jalen Brunson is the story of the league at the moment, him and Wemby. And I wanted to get your opinion of JB whenever you drafted him, and then how much he has grown over this, whatever it is, 6 years.
We're at 7 now.
He might be at 7.
or 8.
We're getting old. But yeah, Brunson is obviously has his team in the finals.
He was drafted at 18.
Yeah.
So
8.
Yeah. 8.
It's 8 years. Look, Brunson is obviously has become a great player. He's always been a winner. He's always been a great leader. There are similarities to Berea. Like Brunson's bigger, and so he's more suited to be a starting player, or the kind of player that he is probably than Berea is. But Berea started his share of games, but there are similar qualities there. I don't know if anybody could have predicted Jalen Brunson's rise to the level that he's at, to this level. But those of us that knew him are not shocked because he has an internal wiring. He has a resourcefulness. He has a bulldog mentality. And if you're trying to prove him wrong, good luck. If you're trying to say that he can't do something, you do that at your own behest. I mean, and he's obviously proven everyone that doubted him, what the deal is. And look, that year in summer league when we drafted him, if you go back and look at his stats, he struggled in summer league. He did not have a good summer league. And so, I spoke to him afterwards and said, listen, here's what you need to do. You need to become a more effective driver of the ball, and you've got to be able to make 3-point shots. He was such a mid-range player, and he made some college threes, when he was at Villanova, but the line is quite a bit closer. And I don't know how many threes he made in the summer league. I don't know if he made any. He didn't statistically stand out at all. But this kid went home for 6 or 7 weeks and then came back in the fall, and it was like a different player. I mean, and when you talk about greatness in players, they all have a wiring of resourcefulness, that they figure things out, that they just have that it factor, and Brunson's one of those guys.
Last time we saw your team fully healthy, they were in the NBA Finals. Now, I know you don't get to carry any of that forward, and last year's success or even 2 years ago's success doesn't mean anything, but what are your expectations for the Pacers this season, given full health, hopefully?
We're looking forward to it. health is a major part of it. Tyrese Halliburton is doing very, very well with his recovery. He's really fully recovered from the Achilles. He dealt with shingles, in February, March, and April. It was a thing that lingered somewhat, but he's doing great now. Pascal Siakam is our other great player. Nemhard is he's kind of a Barea, Deshaun Stevenson, and you combine, I don't know, Jason Terry. He can score, he can defend, he can make plays. He's kind of our combo guy that does those kinds of things. And then we have Neesmith, and we traded for Zubats. So we like our team. It's this past season was difficult, but we got a lot of work in with development, and we learned a lot about our young players. And so we've got to take that forward into training camp. And obviously we're looking forward to getting a healthy team back on the court.
You have time for a few rapid fire before we get you out of here?
Yeah, go ahead.
The moment you knew that the Mavs were going to win the 2011 finals, like in Game 6, when were you like, we got this thing?
Yeah, there was a play where Wade lost the ball out of bounds across from our bench. And I think we were up 8 at the time, and it was 2 minutes to go, or 2.5, something like that. And I didn't know we were going to win, but it just, the energy of the game was going our direction.
Better Dirk finals game winner, Game 2 or Game 4?
Oh, I think you'd have to say Game 2 was the most important one of really the history of the Mavericks organization. If you really want to be honest about it, because you go down 0-2, the metrics of playoff series will tell you that it's very, very difficult. The team that goes up 2-0 wins like 80% of the time.
Right.
So that was enormous. And then it became a 5-game series, and we figured it out from there.
I know the most fun game for the fans during that playoff run, besides Game 6, was the Game 4 against the Lakers, right? Just could not miss. For you as a coach, what game was most fun for you on that playoff run, besides obviously winning the championship in Game 6?
Yeah. Game 6 of Miami certainly was the game. I thought Game 6 at Portland was a really big moment for us. We had been up big in Game 4 and lost the lead, and they tied the series 2-2, and it was a very important moment, and I remember, after that game, I said to the team, I said, listen, I'm gonna take responsibility for this with the media. I said, tomorrow's Easter. You guys get away from this, get rested, and we're gonna come back on, I think it was Monday that we played, and I said, we're better than this team, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna win Game 5, and then we're gonna have a chance to come back here, and look, fortunately, all that stuff worked out. So Game 6 Portland, it wrapped the series up. It was important to win our first series, obviously, to get to advance to the next series. But that was a highly pressurized series and a very difficult matchup. So look, everything is hard.
Yeah.
Anything in the playoffs is hard. Like when I was watching that game, I was talking to you guys about where the Lakers are playing Sacramento. And if Sacramento somehow wins that game, we play New Orleans, who's a much better matchup for us. It's just those things. It's just not going to happen. Bryant's going to hit the shot. We're going to go to overtime, and we're going to end up playing Portland. And so, but for us, it was probably a blessing that it was a more difficult opponent, and it got us more ready for the Lakers.
Everybody remembers Dirk's immediate reaction to winning a title. What was yours? Buzzer sounds, Game 6. You've been coaching this league since the 80s. You had been a head coach for more than 10 years. you win a ring, first thoughts that wash through your mind when you realized this actually happened?
Yeah, we were so immersed in the process that we had put forth of how we are going to beat this team. And it was about a certain mindset offensively and a certain persistence defensively. And we were so immersed in it that when the game was finally over, it was kind of like, God, I can't believe this is over. We were so focused on what we were doing from a process standpoint. But I just remember, Mark came and we had a big hug, and I told him how happy I was for him, because this was something that was very, very important to him. This was something that he wanted more than anything to do for the fan base, and he did. And and from there it was a really cool night.
I bet. Best Dirk story you've been holding on to all these years?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to get into private stories, but I just was so fortunate to get a chance to work with him. I mean, he still is really one of the more underrated guys in the history of the game. And when you look at everything that he did for not just for the Mavericks organization, but he's the guy that changed the game. And the guys that change the game, they are different. And Dirk gets a lot of respect, but I don't know if he ever has gotten as much respect as he probably deserves. I mean, he redefined the power forward position. Because of him, every team eventually had a shooting four-man, and that was not the case prior to that. And so, when you get a guy that changes the game, I mean, that's historic.
Role player, whether 2011 or any other time in your time in Dallas, the role player you had that you trusted the absolute most to go out and do what you need him to do?
Well, we had a lot of guys, and really, just Dallas?
Just Dallas, we'll say. We're a Dallas show.
Sure.
We'll say Dallas show.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Barea. I mean,
yeah.
Barea he was always up to the moment. He really was. And there was a feistiness to him, and he was a worker. He played at Northeastern. Like it wasn't the Yankee Conference anymore, but maybe it was the ECAC North or something like that. And then I had heard stories. It was before I got to Dallas that they had put him in the G League a couple of times to play games. He go to the G League and scored like 40 points. I mean, he was a baller, and he was fearless. And so I put him up there with anybody. Now, Jason Terry was a sixth man, and so, but I really view him as a starter.
Right, close games.
But Barea and Terry were two of the most dependable players you could ever possibly hope for off the bench. I think the other guy to mention here is Cardinal, because as the series went on, the matchups became more difficult, and Peja was having difficulty with some of the matchups with the wings, and so we started playing Cardinal. And the other thing that happened in Game 6, and this is really noteworthy, is that Dirk got 2 quick fouls in Game 6, had to come out of the game. Now, we were either down 5 when he came out of the game or down 7. I forget which. But Cardinal came in the game, and when Dirk came back in the game at the beginning of the second period, we were up 7. So Cardinal went plus 12 when Dirk went out of the game with foul trouble. And then Cardinal in the second half took a charge, I think, on Wade or one of those guys, and hit a big 3. And so, you look at Cardinals plus minus in Game 6, it was impressive.
This got me, the Dick Motta thing this summer, him not getting into the Hall of Fame, got me thinking about this. But the most underrated head coach in NBA history, in your opinion?
Well, Mott is very deserving. Look, I was president of the Coaches Association for 20 years. I finally stepped aside this year. JB Bickerstaff is doing it now, and I've been very involved with the Hall of Fame. Working to get some of these guys in. Bill Fitch finally got in 2019. I mean, he was a guy that was a franchise builder that built every franchise from lottery to either NBA Finals or conference finals. Mata had similar impact. There are just so many. I mean, look, when you advocate for coaches, the way that I did over a 20-year period as president of the association, I feel every coach is underrated. I just really think, it's a special privilege to be an NBA coach.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Sir, thank you.
Appreciate you today. Thank you for 2011. I hope you have a glass of wine or whatever, and sit back and think about those days again in this coming week. But I appreciate you so much, Rick.
Yeah, no problem. It was a pleasure to join you guys, and best wishes.
Thank you so much. Pretty awesome.
That rules.
Did not suck.
Yeah.
The Corey Brewer thing just cracks me up. Let's just throw Corey Brewer in there. See what happens.
Y'all want to throw Corey Brewer in there?
You wanna? We're talking about a team that won an NBA title, and we could build one of those. I'm sure you guys have heard about 82-0. If you haven't, it is very addictive. A wonderful little game where you get 5 spins to build a starting lineup.
Talk to your kids about 82-0 before they get hooked.
Yeah, because we are little junkies right now. But you get 5 spins to build a starting lineup. One player from a different decade. I don't think it's every decade, but you got to get 5 different decades, 5 different positions. The goal is to go 82-0. We've done a lot of these spins. We figured we'd play together. We see what we could do here. We're gonna give it 5 tries. Let's see how close. I want to at least crack 80.
80 wins, okay.
I want to at least crack 80. I've gotten 82 twice, and I don't want to talk about how many spins I've done.
Will Chamberlain had to be on there, of course. That's the cheat code I've learned is Will Chamberlain.
You could do it with Kareem. I saw one. Wilt's from specifically the Golden State era, right? And then Kareem in the Milwaukee era. I did see one with Wemby.
Interesting.
Yeah, you really got to hit the perimeter players, but Wemby could do it. So,
full disclosure, when I usually play this, I try to make a perfect 50-win team. I don't want more wins. I don't want less wins.
Yeah, there's some good ones. I've seen people try to go 0 and pick the worst player.
I just want 50 wins on this team because I'm not losing my job if I win 50 games. 50-win team could be anything.
You could be there for a long time. Yeah, there are worse jobs than to be the general manager.
All right, let's pull up the interface and see what it gives us with the spin, all right?
Okay, all right.
Spinorama. Let's go. Phoenix in the 80s. Ooh. Charles Barkley's got to be not on here.
Oh, you're. See, I like that you're a purist. I'm
Dan
like
Marley.
I throw the stats on there, brother.
I don't do the stats.
I'm too goddamn busy to remember all that.
I do not do the stats.
I do think though Tom Chambers had great numbers in the 80s.
Tom Chambers.
Yeah, Chambers
he was in the Moody Madness game.
Yeah, Chambers has good numbers in the 80s. That would be the best pick here. You can
also switch. Yeah.
For the uninitiated, you get one team switch and one era switch. So we could pick a different team in the 80s. We could pick the Suns in a different decade.
I'm fine doing an era. Suns, because every other Suns era, there's a better player.
All right, let's
Barkley
go.
in the 90s. Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Era.
We got
2000s. Okay, here we go. Steve Nash, right?
I was saying Amari.
Jason Kidd.
I think it's Nash or it's Amari. You could sum it.
What position, in your opinion, is harder to fill?
See, I also like multi-position eligibility here in the early rounds.
Okay, yeah.
Marion's another one. Marion stuffs stats, and this game rewards you for stat stuffers.
Yeah, Nash is the 2-time MVP.
I mean, I know. I don't know. You can sum it either way. I just feel like when you fill the point guard spot early, there's some point guards crazy numbers.
That's true. That's true.
So let's do. I'm pro Marion. I'm always pro Shawn Marion. I'm a believer that Phoenix Shawn Marion is one of the most underrated NBA players of all time.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw him at small forward right now.
Okay.
All right, spin again.
Move him again if we have to.
Portland in the 2000s. All right, I'm trying to think. Arvydas Sabonis, obvious answer, dog.
Woo.
Let's go. That one rules. I might come back to it.
Just for vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one where like
Darius Miles was a Blazer too then. That's right.
Who was the best Jailblazers?
Jermaine O'Neal is a.
Well,
really
Jermaine
good
O'Neal
one.
didn't hit till he really went to Indy though, because they traded for Dale Davis.
Aldridge is a really good.
Aldridge or Brandon Roy? You want a Brandon Roy?
I'll do Brandon Roy.
Let's go B.
He's
Roy.
the best player.
Or one out for B. Roy, a guy we talked about on the show.
I mean,
I always
whenever
feel
I'm
bad
trying
for
to make my 50-win team, I'm doing Arvydas Sabonis every time.
I do love
Very
Arvydas
good.
Sabonis. Brooklyn in the 70s. That's
okay.
That's a Bernard King always plays well here.
Bernard King.
Bernard.
See if I even know any of these other names.
Oh yeah, because Dr. J played in the ABA days. So yeah, Bernard King.
Bernard King. Is
move Tricks.
Tiny Archibald. Let's go.
You want Tiny Archibald? You want?
No,
you want,
no. I gotta move
Tricks to the 4, and we'll go Bernard King.
Bernard King.
I feel like to get really make a run here, we need a big. Center.
We're not.
We need a big
close
center,
right
a big
now.
point guard hit.
Golden State 80s.
Golden State the
Not
80s. You want to era change that or team change that? We can team change it.
World be free. Let me make sure there's not any. Rick Barry's on here, right?
I thought Barry was. 70s.
Oh God, damn it! This sucks.
Yeah, go change the team for the 80s. Maybe
This
we'll get
is
lucky.
trash.
Maybe we'll get lucky.
Okay, Seattle.
Seattle
80s.
in the 80s.
Um,
Jesus, I don't think the Sonics are very good in the 80s. They won in the 70s, and the 90s were the fun years.
Yeah, they have one
What
title.
do we got here?
Avery Johnson,
We
Dale Ellis, Danny Young.
got to get a
Dennis
1 or a
Johnson.
5 though.
This sucks.
Yeah, we're
Gerald Henderson Sr.
Jack Sigma had numbers.
James Donaldson. Okay.
Jack Sigma is the leader in the clubhouse.
Sigma is probably the guy. Michael Cage, I think, could play back in the day.
Nate McMillan, shout out, great
Nate.
role player for a number of years.
Silas. We got to get a center, though.
No, well, Sigma was the
FB.
center. Sigma was a 5.
This sucks.
You give
Steve
me,
Hawes.
give me Jack Sigma.
All right, Jack Sigma. This team is trash. This
Yeah,
is already
this is
done.
not good. I don't even know
I'm
if
just
we're
doing a
back at
bit
60.
pick. Doing a bit
Utah in the
pick before-
20s. Jesus. Who played 1 in the 20s for Utah? That is.
They might give.
Conley, right?
Mike Conley. Yeah, Dono can also play.
Oh,
third.
put Dono in there. Okay.
60.
That barely hit 60.
sucks.
Okay.
That
all right.
sucks.
Well, let's go again.
I'm gonna try and make this screen bigger.
Yeah, make the screen bigger. I
Yeah.
can barely read these
I know.
things. My old eyes.
Old and blind.
They're not that old, but you know.
All right.
Lakers in the 20s. That's Luka.
You can
Luka or
can't see
Braun.
any of the players.
All right, we can't
Hold on.
zoom in. Zoom back out.
There we go. Zoom.
It's Luka or it's Braun.
It's Luka.
Yeah.
That's who it is.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Avery. Shout out Avery, who keeps us in
Yeah.
line around here. She's got it covered.
Luka Doncic.
Yep. Throw him. Pick one of them right now. We'll move him around.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Let's go.
Minnesota in the 9. That's KG, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The 2000s numbers are better, but you got to go KG.
KG.
You got to go KG. Oh, also versatile. See, this is how you really hack the system. Is when you get guys with 3 positions, you can move them around.
Houston in the 10s. That's T-Mac, right? Or Yao?
Was Yao still there in the 10s?
I
Or
don't
did his
know.
body give out at that
Luis
point?
Scola. Let's go.
And I Tracy, I don't even think was there in the 10s at this
No,
point.
maybe
You
not.
want to go era with Houston though, because you might get
yeah.
you could get 90s with Akeem or 80s with Akeem.
Is
or-
James Harden here?
Yeah.
Harden's a good move.
Okay, we'll go Harden.
He won an MVP in that.
Yep,
Fair,
we'll go
so
Harden.
we'll go with
That's
that.
fair.
All right. We got 2. Remember, we got to change this both ways. Ooh.
We want to go Ant.
We got
Ant's the only
Ant.
choice.
We got
if we're doing this.
Ant-Man. Who can we move up or
Well, we can
around?
move Harden to the 1 and Luka to the 3.
That's true. Or we can just move Luka to 3.
Yeah, and then
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man.
Oh, shit. I
Yeah,
got
move Harden to the 1.
Sorry.
All right, now it's time for our moonshot spin of
All
hoping
right.
we
Well,
get Wilt.
we got 2 changes, though, don't we?
We do.
Okay.
If we get Wilt or Kareem, this could be easily in the 70s.
All right. Let's go.
Let's go.
This is I think this is a legit.
We got some hope
Contender for
here. We got
80.
some fucking hope here.
Denver in the 2000s. No.
Change it up.
That's
You want? Okay. You want?
not-
Here's
not
we could
good.
change up the era and hope we get Jokic, or we could change up the team, and then just I say we change the era first and see if we get lucky and get Jokic,
Fine with
and if
that.
not, we'll change the team.
I mean, they might have Dikembe, but I don't want to do that. I don't think.
No, he was gone by then. I
He's
think.
gone,
Yeah, I think he was in Atlanta
Era?
by then. Yeah, era first. I want to see if we can get
Yeah.
lucky and get
20s.
Jokic or bust.
90s. Wrong way. Dikembe is there.
I would honestly, with the number of good bigs in the 90s,
Yeah.
I kind of would just
I
roll
want
a
like
team.
a Patrick Ewing or something.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get lucky and get Akeem.
All right. Please, God. Please, Adam Silver. Utah in the 90s.
Oh, wait. No, this works. Because we could put KG at the 5. We could get Malone at the 4.
Oh.
Malone put up numbers.
I just fundamentally Don't like having
I
Karl
know
Malone on my team.
we're not worried about clubhouse here.
72 and 10.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're not gonna do 5 teams.
All
We're gonna
right.
do one more. We'll do one
Yeah,
more.
We'll do 3. All right. This is the third one.
Okay. All right, we're improving.
All right. Milwaukee in the 80s.
I would era switch that one because if I get the 70s, I could get Kareem or Oscar, or we go later, you can get Giannis. I don't want
Yeah.
anything in the 80s.
Yeah, 80s are bad. There's probably someone that's solid. No.
Change the era.
Yeah, I was thinking of
Come on, give me that Kareem. Give me that sweet, sweet Kareem.
70.
Oh, yeah, buddy.
Kareem Abdul.
I always feel
Jabbar.
bad because Oscar's numbers are wild at the 1-2, but Kareem is such a game breaker.
Yeah. All right, Kareem.
All right, 80 something's in play just because we have Kareem now. Phoenix in the 90s. You want to go Charles?
I'd rather go team. Yeah, if he's on the Bark's fine.
That was Charles's era with
Bark's
Phoenix.
fine,
He won
yeah.
MVP in the 90s.
He did. When they got tired of giving it to Jordan.
Yes, but
Orlando in the 10s. That's Dwight Howard time, right? But
is he eligible at the
can't
4?
Use him.
Well, but you can.
You can.
Hey, there we go.
Right.
All right. We need some
Okay.
perimeter.
We are
need some.
cooking. We are cooking. We got
Yeah.
both our switches.
Let's
We
go.
got one. We got team switch.
We got
Come on,
team
guards. OKC in the 80s.
Team switch.
No, I'm out of there.
No, not doing that. Not doing that.
That's not good.
Dell Ellis had some numbers, but we're not doing that. We could
All
do
right, so we
better.
got to find somebody in the 80s.
Give me Bulls of the 80s for Jordan. Come on.
Detroit. Ike, right? Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, probably.
Zeke?
Zeke,
Ike,
a little
whatever you
Zeke.
call him.
Zeke.
Where is he?
He's in there.
Am I blind? I'm just. There we go.
Do you know what letter goes before that?
Sorry. Sorry, dude.
All right.
Sometimes.
We need a 2.
Let's go.
Come on, give me something great. Give me something great.
We can do this.
Gotta
Give
get
me
a
Michael
little-
Jordan.
Jordan, can we get Luca with the Mavs? Can we get a? Come on.
Phoenix in the 90s.
90s.
I've had enough Phoenix.
Wait,
Stop it.
I thought we already gave us Phoenix in the 90s with Charles. You give it
did.
to us again? I
Dude,
think
another
he has the
Charles?
laws of the game.
Dan Marley's good.
Thunder is KJ. KJ's just a 1.
J Kid.
J Kid.
That rules.
All right, J Kid. Why not? Let's see
That
what J
rules.
Kid gets us.
Yeah. All right. Come on. I bet this is 75.
Okay, let's
This is a
go.
nice
J
team.
Kid.
79.
79. Hey, I'll take that.
Solid work. Way to go.
Ah.
Again, I usually don't play to go 82-0. I played for 50, exactly 50.
Yeah.
So if I get too many good players, I know where to water it down.
No, this is a good one. I like this. Is a
that
fun
was
one.
fun. That was
a
great.
fun one.
It was a good episode, man.
A very good episode. Thank
Loved
you
it.
guys for
Yeah.
hanging with us.
Yeah.
Thank you to the great Haymaker Studios in Frisco. If you need something done, you know who to call. You know to call Avery Luna as your producer.
Yeah.
And you can call us if you want to bullshit and
Hang
have a
out.
good time. So we'll see.
Talk about 2011 and cry. Let's go.
Let's remember some guys. That's the whole show.
Yeah.
We love you. We'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging with us.